The Chinese Civil War of 1945 holds a pivotal place in the history of China, marking a crucial juncture that shaped the nation's destiny. As the shadows of World War II receded, a new struggle emerged between the nationalist forces led by Chiang Kai-shek and the communist forces led by Mao Zedong. The year 1945 witnessed a complex interplay of political, social, and military dynamics that would determine the course of China's future. In this historical landscape, various factors converged to influence the trajectory of the Chinese Civil War, setting the stage for a transformative period in the nation's history. War are still reverberating around the globe, its effects casting long and dark shadows in every direction. The world has barely recovered from the havoc wreaked by this war, and the simultaneous joy and relief of its conclusion are tainted by the pain and trauma that the destruction behind. Nations are still licking their wounds, their landscapes scarred and their people haunted by the horrors they had to endure. But amidst all this, in the Far East, a nation is on the verge of being swept into the tornado of another conflict. The nation we refer to as China. Here, the seeds of another war being sown, ready to sprout, ready to draw the nation into its vortex. This is not just any war, this is the Chinese Civil War. A war whose would not only determine the fate of this eastern giant but also lay the groundwork for the geopolitical landscape of the entire world, influencing international relations for many years to come. This is the Chinese Civil War, a conflict that would shape the future of China and the world. The Chinese Civil War is often seen as a struggle between two forces, the nationalists, led by Chiang Kai-shek, and the communists, led by Mao Zedong. However, to limit our understanding to this binary opposition would be to oversimplify an intricate and multidimensional historical event. The conflict was characterized not merely by contrasting political philosophies, but also by a sprawling gamut of alliances, betrayals, and shifting loyalties that played out over many tumultuous years. The nationalists, or Kuomintang, spearheaded by the charismatic yet controversial figure of Chiang Kai-shek, initially held the reins of power. Their rule, however, was marked by internal strife, corruption, and a faltering economy. The communists, on the other hand, were shaped by the stele of Mao Zedong, a man of humble origins who rose to become a pivotal figure in the 20th century world. This was not a simple chess game with clear-cut sides and predictable moves. It was a dynamic and volatile dance of power, like a rising wave, with both exploiting the flux of war to their advantage. Each faction had its own allies, its own agenda, and its own vision for the future of China. Moreover, these alliances were not steadfast or unchanging. They were susceptible to the winds of change and the shifting sands of loyalty. At times, former enemies became allies, while trusted companions turned into traitors. In sum, the Chinese Civil War was not a mere battle between the nationalists and the communists. It was a complex web of alliances, betrayals, and shifting loyalties that would determine the fate of a nation. In January of 1945, the nationalists and communists, two significant political factions in China, were still entangled in a state of uneasy alliance. Their unity was not a result of shared ideologies or common goals, but rather the presence of a formidable common enemy, Japan. The war had been ongoing, with Japan posing a significant threat to Chinese sovereignty. This adversarial external force was the only glue that held the nationalists and communists together, despite the contrasting visions they held for China's future. Each day, the nationalists and communists watched as the shadow of Japanese domination over their nation receded gradually. As Japan's hold on China lessened, the unity that had forged in the fires of war began to crack. With the diminishing Japanese threat, the two factions found less and less reason to suppress their innate rivalry. The very differences that had been temporarily buried beneath the urgency of war now began to resurface, causing the taut thread of alliance to fray dangerously. The fissures of disagreement turned into gaping ideological chasms by time spring rolled around. Tensions, which had been simmering just beneath the surface, now escalated at an alarming rate. The thin veneer of unity that had once masked the hostility and discord couldn't hold any longer. By April, these tensions had erupted into open conflict. Through the sweltering, blistering summer and the crisp, wind-swept autumn of the historic year 1945, mankind bore witness to a series of cataclysmic battles. These battles, like fiery cauldrons of turmoil and chaos, raged on relentlessly, echoing the sounds of cannon fire and anguished cries across the globe. Every day was a test of endurance, of resilience, and of the indomitable human spirit. Cities with their towering spires and cobbled fell like dominoes to the unrelenting onslaught, only to be reclaimed in fervent counterattacks. These urban jungles, once bustling and vibrant, were now reduced to eerie, desolate ghosts bearing the scars of the conflict. Each victory and loss, every capture and liberation was but another bloody chapter in the annals of this horrific war. Territories, vast expanses that people called home, were caught in the deadly tug-of-war. Swallowed by the insatiable maw of war, they changed hands, lost and won in a seemingly endless, brutal cycle. Each square mile gained or lost was a testament to the sacrifices made, to the lives irreversibly altered. And amidst chaos, the balance of power teetered on the precipice, shifting back and forth like a pendulum in a storm. Each shift brought with it new hope, new dread, new alliances, and new enemies. The world watched, holding its collective breath, as the tapestry of the war was woven in real time. But by the end of the year, as the snow began to fall and the fires of conflict started to wane, it became crystal clear that the tide was turning in favor of the communists. This was not just the end of a year, but the dawn of a new era, an era that would forever be etched in history. The nationalists, even with their larger troop numbers and advanced military weaponry, found themselves grappling with numerous challenges. On the battlefield, they may have appeared a formidable force, but their internal discord told a different story. Corruption had seeped into the core of their operations, tainting their leadership and turning comrades against each other. Officials and officers alike were involved in underhanded dealings, their integrity compromised by the allure of power and wealth. This corruption led to widespread dissension and distrust among the ranks, shaking the very foundation of their unity. Moreover, a rampant and unchecked inflation was wreaking havoc on their economy. With the purchasing power of the ordinary soldier diminishing day by day, a sense of despair and disillusionment permeated their forces. The morale, which once stood as a beacon of their strength, was now diminishing, leaving them vulnerable and exposed. The stark contrast to this was the communists. They were steadily gaining ground not by flaunting military might, but through a strategy of winning hearts. The rural population, long neglected and marginalized, were now seeing their plight being acknowledged. The communists presented themselves as champions of the underprivileged, the messiahs of the poor. This approach was working. The rural populace was rallying behind them, bolstering their ranks and their resolve. The communists, on the other hand, were gaining support from the rural population, who saw them as champions of the poor. As the year drew to a close, the nationalists found themselves backed into a corner, their forces shrinking, their spirits dampened. Their grip on mainland China was slipping, lost to the persistence of the opposing faction. The empire they had once ruled over was diminishing, and they were left with no choice but to retreat to the island of Taiwan. This retreat, unexpected and unforeseen, marked a significant turning point in the course of the conflict. It was the beginning of the end for their cause, a harbinger of the trials and tribulations that were yet to come. Meanwhile, the communists, filled with renewed vigor and determination, started to assert their dominance over mainland China. Were relentless in their pursuit of victory, sweeping across the land with an iron will and unyielding resolve. Their numbers were significant, their strategies efficient, and their voices united. The tide of the war had turned in their favor, and victory was within their grasp. On a fateful day in late 1949, they made their triumphant declaration. Standing tall amidst the ruins of a battered nation, they announced the establishment of what would be known as the People's Republic of China. This announcement put an end to the strife that had plagued China for years, marking the end of the Chinese Civil War. The echo of their declaration still lingers, bellowing the end of one era and the dawn of another, the People's Republic of China in 1949, ending the Chinese Civil War. So, what have we learned? The Chinese Civil War was a pivotal moment in history, one that shaped the future of China and the world. It was more than a battle between nationalists and communists. It was a complex drama of alliances, betrayals, and shifting loyalties. It was a war that saw the rise of Mao Zedong and the fall of Chiang Kai-shek, and it was a war that ultimately changed the course of history. In the grand tapestry of history, the Chinese Civil War of 1945 stands as a testament to the power of ideologies, the complexities of politics, and the resilience of the human spirit. It's a reminder that the course of history is not always predictable, and that the outcomes of our actions can have far-reaching consequences. So remember, history is not just a series of dates and events, it's a story of people, of struggles, and of change. and the Chinese Civil War is a chapter that we should never forget. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Chinese Civil War, don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical content. Your support enables us to delve into more complex and intriguing historical events. Click the like button if you found this video informative and interesting. It helps us reach a wider audience who, like you, appreciate learning about the intricate tapestry of history. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated. We have a treasure trove of historical deep dives coming your way, exploring different eras, nations, and key events that shape the world we live in today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep engaging with history. It's the best way to understand our present and shape our future.